The history of abortifacient birth control pills. So the history of birth control pills that act as abortifacients, that means they do not prevent the conception, right? The baby is alive for about a week or so and then is killed at the later and very natural stage, very healthy stage of development that is the implantation. So these are called abortifacients. So the history of birth control pills that act as abortifacients is deeply intertwined with medical, political, and pharmaceutical developments. While hormonal contraception is commonly marketed as a way to prevent pregnancy, historical and scientific evidence reveals that many of these drugs can also function as abortifacients by preventing implantation, thus ending life of an already conceived human being. Right? So early contraceptive methods and abortifacients before the development of the modern birth control pill, ancient civilizations and various herbal and chemical concoctions to either prevent pregnancy or induce abortions. For example, in ancient Egypt, so papyrus texts mention mixtures of honey, acacia leaves, and lint inserted into the vagina to prevent pregnancy. Ancient Greece and Rome, women use silphium, a plant believed to have contraceptive and abortifacient properties. In medieval Europe, herbal remedies, often linked to witchcraft and midwifery, were used to prevent pregnancy or terminate early pregnancies. So let's get to where we are, not today, but very, very close to where we are today. So the birth of modern birth control pills, right? So Margaret Sanger and Gregory Pincus. So the early development of the birth control pills was driven by Sanger, a eugenicist who sought to create a drug to control reproduction. She funded research by Pincus, who was experimenting with synthetic hormones. Margaret Sanger is a eugenicist, right? So eugenics, if you're not aware, what is eugenics? That is the idea that we want to limit that group of people from having children, and we want to promote that group of people from. You're basically playing, God. That's what you're doing. You're controlling this culture's, growth, while you're limiting, or you're just killing this group of people's children, right? So eugenics, it's a it's a thing, right? So eugenics. I guess we'll get into that in another video. So the first birth control pill in 1960. So the FDA approved Enovid, the first birth control pill which contained high doses of synthetic and estrogen and progestin. So early marketing, the pill was initially presented as preventing ovulation. However, as research developed, it became clear that the drug also altered the uterine lining, potentially preventing implantation, meaning that a conceived child could die before attaching to the womb. Again, the marketing was very, very deceptive. Right? We always have this deceptive marketing. It prevents ovulation. There's no conception there, but there is a conception. There is a baby. The baby will be alive for a week or so, or more, and the baby will, be very, very healthy and develop naturally until this pill will kill the baby. And that's the very sad reality of it, of what's going on here. So the redefining conception to protect the pill. Instead of to protect our children, right? No, they don't care about protecting kids. They protect the pill, right? So pre 1960s definition of pregnancy, or normal definition of pregnancy, which is scientifically accurate. Before birth control became widespread, pregnancy was understood to begin at fertilization, when the sperm meets the egg, and it certainly is, right? A post-pill redefinition, to avoid ethical and legal concerns regarding early abortion. Medical organizations under the influence of pharmaceutical companies redefined pregnancy to begin at implantation rather than fertilization, which is absolutely just unscientific. It serves the interests of the industry. There's no real logical reason that that would be, and more. So the result, by shifting the definition of pregnancy, pharmaceutical companies could market the pill as preventing pregnancy rather than acknowledging its potential to cause early abortion. It certainly does cause early abortion. So the development of low-dose pills and increased abortifacient effects from the 1980s and so on. So lower estrogen, higher abortifacient risk. Over time, pill formulations were adjusted to reduce side effects, but lower estrogen level meant a greater reliance on the secondary mechanism of action, thinning the uterine lining to prevent implantation, which is killing the baby. A rise of mini pills and uh, progesterone-only pills. Modern pills such as O-pill and other progestin-only options often allow ovulation to occur, but prevent implantation, making them more likely to act as abortifacients. So the morning after pill or Plan B, so a high dose version of regular birth control marketed as emergency contraceptive, but often functioning by preventing implantation. So the Plan B pill, I think nobody's going to, um, you know, um, nobody's going to be deceived. I mean, this is marketed as an emergency contraceptive. That means that they will know that the baby is there, and then we have to kill the baby. I mean, I don't believe there's any mistake made there. But the deception is for these normal, if you will, no, birth control pills. They actually nothing's normal about this, but the ones that Dr. Dow prescribes, the ones that are marketed as preventing the conception there, but it certainly does not. It's a lie. It's a deceptive lie. So the pharmaceutical profits and deception, billions, billions, billions in revenue every quarter, every day. There's so much money being raked in by this industry. It's ridiculous. So the birth control industry generates massive profits for pharmaceutical companies, with executives lobbying lawmakers to ensure continued widespread use. Like I said, did the lawmaker just suddenly wake up one day and say, "Oh, I think I'm going to make a law that's going to allow for birth control manufacturers"? I know it kills the baby and all this stuff, but I just think it would be great if the pharmaceutical industry could just make billions every quarter because we were to. No, of course not. I mean, the lawmakers didn't just wake up one day and say we're going to make a law that will just put this pharmaceutical giant's foot in the door. We're not gonna pretend that was the case at all. So that there's certainly these people getting rich from bribes. It is bribery. It is, and that's why bribery is so an egregious crime. It's an egregious crime. So because I mean so many babies will die because of this bribery, right? So, but the lawmaker doesn't care. He's laughing because he's got this yacht, and he's very happy because his grandchildren went to Harvard and all this stuff. Whatever. I mean, just an absolute destruction of a generation because of this bribery. It's truly mind-blowing. But you cannot have this happening unless it wasn't for depraved, so quote unquote doctors like Dr. Michelle Dow that would violate her oath, right? She's willing to violate her oath, her oath. And what is she? Well, she's not a doctor. She's a sales lady, selling what? A lifestyle of debauchery and casual sex after the end, what happens when the woman is 45, 50 years old, and there's no, she doesn't have any kind of children, right? She's lonely. It's a real thing, right? Some of these women are crying. They're unable to ever have any children ever, right? They will never have any children. They're very, very sad, right? These women are extremely sad. They spend their whole life, being deceived that she should be climbing the corporate ladder instead of having a family that loves her, right? Don't get me wrong. I mean, okay, women can work and all this stuff, but don't, sacrifice your childbearing years, for what? Or for money to do what, right? Well, my wife, my children love my wife. I love my wife. I will always take care, and it doesn't matter how moody she is. Right? We'll always love my wife because she is the mother to the kids, right? We really need her, right? It's very, very important. And the husband needs a wife, right? So how can the husband have a wife if she's on birth control, killing the child, the week old baby boy or baby girl inside of the womb, in the fallopian tube. They're traveling through the fallopian tube. Um, So yeah, massive profits, and the lawmakers are getting bribes, very handsome sums of money for putting allowing the pharmaceutical industries a foot in the door. So the deceptive language, companies carefully word drug labels and medical literature to obscure the fact that these drugs can end a developing life, like we saw in the other video. They will say that it suppresses ovulation. But it doesn't. It doesn't. They will say exactly that at the first part of it, but then they will hide it behind a whole bunch of medical jargon and industry-specific language. But it will end a developing life. The baby will be a week or so. Um, and unfortunately, the baby boy or baby girl will die because of these. Oh, it's so sad. Oh man, when I even conceive this thing into my head, this idea, and this idea comes into my head, this baby boy, which is it's a fully viable pregnancy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a fully viable, it's a healthy baby boy, healthy baby girl that we are losing because of these, people like Dr. Dow. Oh man, lack of informed consent. Many women are unaware that they may be taking an abortifacient rather than a purely contraceptive drug. So it's not a purely contraceptive drug, it's an abortifacient. Let's continue. So the future of abortifacient birth control, the push for over-the-counter access. Pharmaceutical industry is lobbying to make hormonal birth control available without a prescription, further removing medical oversight and informed consent. Right, so you could just buy it like you're buying Tic Tacs. Um, Expansion into developing nations. International organizations promote these drugs in poorer countries under the guise of women's health, often without fully informing users of the true mechanisms. Right, so in these types of poorer nations, right, these women, and there's no reason why it's just a lack of a distribution and management. There's no reason that any kind of nation should be poor. The earth is, the harvest, the bounty of the harvest is so plentiful that there's no need to have any kind of poverty or anything like that. The earth is exceedingly plentiful. The bounty of the harvest is exceedingly plentiful. There's no need. But anyway, the governments and all this stuff will mismanage and put their own people under just absolute poverty. So then the poor women will be enticed into taking these. It's not the health, right? What is healthy is the natural bodily function. That is healthy, right? You're not diagnosing any kind of illness. So it's not about health. So what are you selling, right? What are you selling? You're not prescribing any, you're not offering a type of medicine. It's certainly not. The cultural shift against life. As society moves further from recognizing the sanctity of life, there is less scrutiny over drugs that may cause early abortion. Scrutiny is certainly very, very important, especially in this case here. So the conclusion, a history of hidden abortions. From the earliest forms of contraception to the modern pharmaceutical industry, birth control pills have been marketed under deceptive terminology to mask their abortifacient potential. The redefinition of pregnancy, the suppression of informed consent, and the immense financial stakes ensure that most women never fully understand the ethical implications of what they are taking. The history of abortifacient birth control is not just a medical. It's not just a medical story. It's one of deception, rebranding, and an assault on the earliest stages of human life. So these women deserve to be empowered. We should fight not only for the women, but also for the small boys and the small girls that are being killed. They deserve, and they have the right to a life, right? And this is certainly a crime, the greatest crime ever, right? That there is no greater crime. There is no greater, more valuable. There is no more valuable asset as a baby boy or a baby girl, and there is no greater crime as to kill a baby boy or a baby girl. So this is the greatest story that has ever been told. Thank you very much for tuning. I'll see you. Bye bye.